Hello, everyone. As I mentioned, my name is Romanus. I head the technical part of unified endpoint management and security. So there are a lot of strategies how you ensure your endpoints, particularly being in healthcare. So we have worked with a lot of healthcare across the globe. So I just want to share a couple of points that before that, I trust each one of you is happy, healthy, and being a blessing to others in these challenging days, right? So the topic is going to be building resilience to the cybercrime syndrome for the healthcare delivery or industry, right? Now, the presentation is designed in such a way that so I'll be giving you some statistics about how cyber attacks are happening and why our healthcare industries are being targeted, and what should you do about to close the gap, and to understand why ransomware. So ransomware is the huge threat for every organization now. So how do you go ahead and prevent that for your industry? So that's on one aspect. And moving forward, so it's going to be understanding the anatomy of ransomware attack, so that when you look at it from the threat actors point of view, you should be able to understand the gaps in managing your endpoints and network, so that you should be able to successfully fill those gaps. And finally, how these tactics, techniques, and various procedures used by the threat actors could be utilized by you in the form of a tool, so that you don't have to worry, but look at the productivity point of view, business continuity, rather than focusing on understanding or preventing your endpoints from the ransomware attack. So without further delay, let me move on to the presentation. Okay, so few things as statistics. So 2021 is going to inflict a total damage cost. The cyber cost to the cyber crime is $6 trillion, which is nothing but the third largest economy, followed by US and China. And I'm afraid that last week the scenario has changed. China and US now. China has become the first economy, I think. And by 2025, there is a prediction it's going to be 10.5 trillion. That's too much money that you have to pay to protect your endpoints, or cybercrime to not to happen to you, or pay for what has happened to you, right? Now, that's something very huge. Now, another interesting data with respect to the same timeline, 2025, you would see that there is a prediction from Gartner, research analyst, who talks about adoption of the remote work. Now, it starts with 2019, 22, and 25. You could see here, India is probably following US, Europe, and UK. So that's one of the major hits. We are the one who have embraced this remote work culture, ensuring that business and productivity and economy always going up. So that's something indicates the right direction. However, if you look at that correlating to the previous screen, so 2025 you pay more for the cybercrime, and 2025 there's a prediction that there would be more remote work penetration and adoption by different organizations and the country. Now, this clearly indicates when you go beyond your protected surface, protected area from your organization to outside world remote work from any Wi-Fi or any network, then your attack surface from the threat actors point of view, from adversaries point of view, has increased. Now, we should be able to understand that clearly. So you have to take measures. So within the organization, you have the luxury and you have the perfect control or delayed manner. You should be able to do some security options. But in the case of remote work, when every endpoint is outside and every employee is outside working, contributing to the organization's business, then this is something that you have to take it real serious, right? So when the serious focus on protecting that happens, then you should be able to continue your business in a smoother and no interruption way. Now, this is a survey from Sophos, which talks about what are the countries which has got recently hit by ransomware. You could see India stands first, at least one way or the other. The Indian organizations who have took part in this survey has mentioned that they have got 68% of ransomware attack. It's not specific to healthcare, but as India, as a country, we are being focused, right? Because there is more adaptation in terms of remote work, and there is more business embracement from our employees and organizations. That leads to more such things happening. So it is evident when you embrace new technology, when you go away from your secured perimeter to a remote workplace, then you have a better chance, if it is not configured properly or protected properly, but you should be able to hit by ransomware. Looking at the healthcare, even as a global phenomenon, healthcare is the industry which actually got hit. If you look at this, this is the survey from IBM Poneman Institute, which talks about the healthcare industry, which is way above the global average, right? It's more than the double. So the global average of cost of cyber attacks. And if you look at the data breach level, right? Now, comparing 20 and 21 in healthcare itself, it has grown in 2 more additional billions, 7.13 to 9.23. So that clearly shows one message. There is more demand, or there is lack of IT skills in the healthcare, so the threat actors are focusing on that industry. Now, there is a survey in US which talks about, next to the chip shortage. We all know what is the chip shortage, right? So that's the reason the cars are being delivered late, and that's the reason you cannot negotiate price on the car, because of there is a lot of chip shortage. Now, next to that, it's going to be the consultant, security consultant. In US, up to 2022 Q3, all the consultants, security and technical consultants, are booked. They're all overbooked because the demand for skilled, see, the threat actors are leveraging the latest technology, latest trends, new tactics to attack the endpoints and the businesses. And in order to protect that, the healthcare industry or IT should be enabled with much better skill set, and healthcare is somewhat not up to that level. That is seen across the globe, not only in India, across the globe. So there are more initiatives in those directions that it has to be taken really serious, and it has to have such tools and technology and people in place to protect your business. So let's start with something that happened in 2017. We all know WannaCry happened. WannaCry is a global marketed or popular ransomware attack. That's where we came to know about there is something called ransomware, right? From the layman's point of view. And we know the impact across the globe, lot of systems, and the costing was up to billion across the globe, right? Now, this cost is not related to the threat actor. They have not gained out of it. It is only the loss of the person or the organization which has lost business, or recovery process, or the backup or additional technology that they have to put in. That is the cost. But it is not a kind of amount which has gone to the threat actor. I'll come back to that later. What is that is all about, right? Now, this thing happened because of a simple patch which has to be done, which was available for everyone probably about 20 days before this event has happened. But even the internet-facing Windows servers were not patched with that, and that has led to this kind of catastrophic. And one of the major organization which was affected because of this is NHS, National Health Services. That's the reason we have, I have given some data on costing UK, right? We worked with UK NHS. We have more clients on that. So we were able to have a first-hand information, and we were part of recovery process along with a few of our customers. Now, given with that information, this is one of the biggest thing that we all know. But interestingly, the first ransomware attack happened in 1984 in World Health Organization using the first generation floppy disk. And that's a different story. But it is 2017 that it was so popular, made across the globe. And the reason for that is patch was not done on time, even on the internet facing machines. Now then people understood vulnerability, and patching is one of the major stuff that has to happen regularly. That's one. Now, because of healthcare from the NHS point of view, when we worked with them, so it is multifaceted impact. The patients, the healthcare professionals, the society. So there is a fear and sense of lack of control, and that there's no trust, right? So when such things happen, the trust will go down. So that's the situation that when anybody, particularly when healthcare is hit by ransomware, you would experience that. Now that is not done. It's not only 17. In this year, we have seen, I'm just talking about one of the major ransomware attacks. This was in Colonial Pipe, was in US, and followed by a JBS. Colonial Pipe was gas supply, and JBS is the biggest meat vendor according to them. So there is no supply of meat and gas. So what is the biggest impact? It is only on the business level. How could a common man, how could you and me, or a normal person who doesn't get involved in this stuff, or affected? I'll tell you that. So people say this could have even triggered World War III. So that is so damn serious. They took it really serious. So I think most of you would have understood that NATO declared that they would provoke Article 5. That is, if there is an attack, even through cybersecurity mode, and it is considered as an attack, physical attack, and they and their ally would attack them back. Now, this is to understand and how seriously they have taken it, because of these two attacks, gas pipeline and JBS, the common people were affected. They have not got the supplies what they have to get. So the prices went up. They have to stand in queue. They cannot take their vehicles. So there were a lot of inconvenience. It is as equal as having a physical war, except there is no blast, there is no bombing, shelling. Those things were not there. But the economical impact on a common man has happened. Now, that's the reason every institutions, every organization, every nation has started considering this as a serious issue, and they want to focus more on that. Being said with that, let's move on to the next part. How do you cope with ransomware, or ensure that you understand and remediate or prevent your endpoints from that, and if you're affected, remediate that? Now, this could happen only when you have a better understanding. So it's kind of same story, 2017. We can divide that into two, before 2016-17 and after 16-17. As I said, the ransomware attacks are right from there, 1984. But 2017, it became popular. But after that point, the ransomware attacks were made as a business, enterprise level business. What we discussed so far in a couple of examples, Colonial Pipeline and JBS were just large enterprises. But now it has changed to small and medium enterprises. Working on large is a matter of risk, but working with small and medium, they immediately get the ransom. This is not something that I'm making up. This is true. Now, after 17, you would see there is RAAS services, ransom as a service, ransomware as a service. Now they started making it as an enterprise level business to get money. So they started offering it as a ransom. Now they started calling the small time security cyber criminals and gave them this ransomware. Additionally, they trained them and give them classes and gave them documents on how to recon, or I should say, how to identify organization is profitable and how to get into that, and what are the strategies or tactics you should use, and what are the tools that they could take from there, and how do they attack so that they gain ransom and you get a share of 70-30, 60-40, 50-50. Now it's reversing because there is more ransomware providers and the share is being flipped now. Now, that's the reason I was saying previously in 2017, the cost involved was not for as a profit for the threat actors, but it is a cost of the victim. But now, whatever they get is the cost of the ransomware attack, the cyber criminals or the threat actors. Now, because this industry has started becoming an enterprise level industry, small and medium tend to pay immediately than the large, where they have to go through different obstacles, negotiation, things like that. Small and medium are the targets now. Now, how do you understand this anatomy of the cyber attacks? So let's take one example of a high level, very high level ransomware attack. There is a threat actor who would be using a vulnerability in your endpoint. Endpoint could be your mobile device, your laptop, your server, your POS device, right? Your any desktop which is connected to your network, but it could be your receptionist, right? Not much used for the production, but if it is connected to the network, then that is sufficient. So that endpoint would have vulnerabilities, and RDP is an example. Using that, they should be able to come in and then gain access. Two, there are a lot of phishing, right? Emails. When there is a phishing email with COVID vaccine related information, or with your dean's name phishing, or it is from your department heads, or it is from your government talking about the vaccine sent to you. There is no other way that you have to, unless you have some background to understand, read and understand, take some time to read and understand, then you are going to click that. Now, these are the easiest way that they get in. And once they get in, they move to all endpoints and then start encrypting, launching the attack. And once that is done, they will ask you ransom. If the ransom is paid, sometimes you get the data back, otherwise you have to recover on your own. So this is one way. Now, how do they make it profitable? Nowadays, by double extortion. While doing the first type of attack, there is another group which actually exfiltrate data from your organization, your setup. That is taken to the dark web. So there is one way it is ransomware, and other way it is sold in the black market, dark web. Now that's the reason people are more interested in healthcare. You know why? A PHI, health information record, one single record could cost $1,000 in the dark web. So that is the main reason they focus more on his. And the second one is there is not much block or protection from them, from the industry to penetrate in. So that's where the problem lies now. Now, in order to understand this better and focus more on that, there are different organizations which have analyzed such attacks and categorized how the threat actors are trying to get into your network, take the data and go out. Now, this is from Lockheed and Martin. They call it as a cyber kill chain. So they have some methods categorized. And if you read that, you should be able to understand how the threat actors are getting into a network. Similarly, there's something called Bittern attack. Attack stands for adversaries, tactics, techniques, and common knowledge. Now, these guys, I personally follow this. These guys give you very beautiful way of breaking that approach into your network and then help you to understand this better, right? The same approach, but in different categories. Now, this will help you to know what are the tactics. See, the threat actor is not going to come up with different tactics, different techniques every time, right? So that's the reason when he comes in, when he infiltrate and exfiltrate, that has to be methodologically understood and documented. So they will try to hide that how they got in, how they got out, because they want to use the same technique again and again on various customers. So having this knowledge for yourself is actually better for you to understand. This is from Microsoft. They have divided us into 3 major phases and how you have to understand that attacks are happening. So I'm not going to get into that. So basically, what I want you to focus is, if you start reading those kind of reports, this is one of such report from dark side ransomware operators. You would see the tools which they have used in the attacks. Most of them are free software types and COTS software. COTS software are basically commercially off-the-shelf applications, right? And there are open source software, there are malware, Windows utility. Now, analyzing this, they have found there is only 9% of the malware is something which they create. It could be a RAS, it could be a ransomware on directly deployed. But rest of the 91%, which is used to look at your network and see the vulnerabilities. Now, these 91% consists of free software, Windows utilities, open source free utilities, COTS software. Now, the best idea is, if you can start reading such things on a high level, you would understand these free tools are being used to see what is the gap available in your network. That means when you start reading that, you would be able to see your network from the threat actor's point of view. When you start doing that, you would find the gap. When you find the gap, you will automatically start filling that gap with proper security tools and skilled people, and wherever you need to have remediation and necessary action. So the best practice, what I would like to leave here with the CIOs and the IT teams, is basically start reading such attacks or such reports, then the tools used, and start looking your network and endpoints from the threat actor's point of view, right? Now this is basically an example which I want to give one such attack from the Microsoft and Mitre attack point of view, how it is divided. I was talking about tactics, right? Tactics, techniques. You would find the T1003, credential dumping, account discovery, right? Now, these are the tactics used by the threat actor at this and in this attack. And if you have such vulnerability on the right-hand side, and this tactics would be used, and there are a lot of techniques and sub-techniques behind that. Similarly, there is one more attack, and you could see here T1076 remote desktop protocol. So how did they got in, and how did they scan your network? How did they disable or control so that you will not be able to get notification that something could be picked up, right? Now, all these things are perfectly documented, and having that is going to give you a better high-level idea on understanding this and looking at your network from the threat actor's point of view. This is point number 1. And moving forward, you have to really understand the time taken to identify and give a fix for your organization is year on year is getting increased. This is again a survey from IBM which talks about from 15 to 21. 21 is the highest number of days that it has taken to find and give you a fix. Till this day, it's going to be a 0 day. So whenever you have 0 days please take it as highest priority and go ahead and do that, because here there are three parties involved: yourself, the customer, the vendor, right, Microsoft or any other party whose application you are using. The third one is the threat actor. Now, in this case, right, in this case, you and your vendor will not know about this for 200 and odd days. And after certain days, your vendor will know about that. So he takes 75 days, according to 2021, 75 days to provide you a fix. But for these 287 days, your endpoints or your, as a whole, the business is at risk. So you have to have a strategy to ensure the known patches, known available patches or known available fixes to be applied and unknown vulnerabilities to be remediated. How to go about doing that? So this is something that I want to strategically suggest, and I want you to think in this direction. This is basically a matrix which talks about the known. What is known? You have applications, and those applications are from vendors, and the vendor would have his own testing facility or reporting facility to know about the issues, vulnerabilities, and he would release patches, and you know the patches are available, and it is your responsibility, your IT team's responsibility to deploy that. Now the challenge is when they are inside the organization, you have better control because you have a perimeter level security, but now the endpoints are outside. Now, how do you ensure the availability of the endpoint? The bandwidth is sufficient to deploy that, and it is not going beyond certain days so that it becomes a vantage for your business. So this is one. So this is not only with Microsoft, but also with Linux, Mac, or any third-party applications that you have on your devices. This is known. There is something called unknown. That's what we have referred in the previous slide. Now, when you get a 0 day, that means so far it was unknown, right? When it is 0 day, that it is available to you, known to you. So this could be prevented only based on the real-time detection, like endpoint detection and response, new generation firewall, risk framework, and being in compliance. Those things matter because your regular antivirus is not going to help you out in this one. That is basically pattern-based recognition identification, right? But this is something behavior or more than that. So any new generation firewall or EDR would help you to find it in real time or behavior-based intrusion, and then stop you there, remediate you there, and give you alert. So this is something you have to really have in your network to protect that. Known and unknown. And there are unknown knowns and known unknowns. What do you mean by that? So one, I would put it as human dimension. So there should be constant training. So the army is not prepared. I mean, they are not directly into the war. They are being prepared throughout the year, if at all, sometimes, and randomly, anytime it could happen, so they are ready. Now, similarly, it's not sufficient that your IT team is prepared for that, but also the users, the employees, and increasing this security or training should not be a productivity loss. So you have to strike a balance between that. This is one aspect. The other aspect is there are vulnerabilities, right? So apart from patches, apart from regularly doing that, there are things like ports, protocols, those unnecessary applications running on your applications and in your network, something like FTP, which could take the data from inside easily to the outside world. Right? Similarly, browsers, there are a lot of plugins, there are a lot of extensions, helper objects. What do you mean by that? What privilege are they having? Are they sending data to the outside world? Now, only when you have visibility on that, you should be able to manage it. Data leak prevention. So when you talk about data leak prevention, there could be two ways. One, you have endpoints where you have the USBs and other ports. that should be blocked for leaking of data. The other way of doing that is you define what is sensitive data according to your organization. It could be PHI or PII, personally identifiable information or personal health information records. Now you define that. So those defined data, if at all it is given to a printout, if at all it is being taken a screenshot, if at all it is sent to a non-organizational email ID, that will not happen because the system is there to prevent that being leaking outside. So there are two ways that you have to start thinking about preventing that. Other one is application control. When you have allowed applications, defined applications for your organization, any new malware cannot enter and run. And similarly, if you have known ransomware or blacklisted application, then any such things, even unknowingly comes in, it will not be allowed to run. That will ensure that most of any such ransomware attacks cannot happen in your network. One. Two, you have to give the privilege. What privilege is your application is running? If at all it has to, you'll elevate how long, for how many, for what action. Once it is done, it has to come down, brought down to the normal level of working. Now those things has to be taken care of. Now these four, known, 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 unknown, unknown, known, unknown, unknown. Now this is the strategy from the security's point of view. I would suggest you to go ahead and ensure your network and endpoints are protected. Now the basic idea is to have better, less defender cost for you, so that when you start doing this regularly, patching the unknown, known, known, unknown, unknown, and these things are regularly maintained, now you have lower defending cost for your organization. However, the attacker has to spend more time, more money. The recon is going to take more time, cost more cost. So the return on investment for him is going to be high. So obviously, it is not, you are not going to be the target for him, right? Now, there are remediations, but this is basic something that you have to understand. Increasing the cost of the attacker and lowering your cost of defense just by regularly doing automating things, right? How do you protect against the cyber attacks? Basically, having tools, whatever we have been talking about, discussing about the tactics, techniques, procedures, common knowledge, and the strategical way of known, unknown, and unknown, all these things can be done, put in a tool, and you should be able to automate that and see the results, how it is performing, right? So right from device provisioning, it could be a laptop, it could be a mobile device, it could be a Chrome book or anything. And the IoT devices, you should be able to start provisioning, manage them, and get intelligent information, telemetry data, and we should be able to give more insights based on the analytics and reports, right? Now, I want to end with this one. So basically, the endpoint management is something now has come to a unified endpoint management security suite. That's the stage that we are in now. But it has got different waves, different stages before it came to this position. Now, what I want to mention is the latest market analysis about the researchers about that talks about unified endpoint management. And this person, Randall Cameron, has analyzed such reports. We call it as Magic Quadrant reports, right? Now, this fellow has analyzed and said Microsoft and Manageengine are the only two companies or products which are there in all the unified endpoint management Magic Quadrants. So, but I would like to extend this, even if you are having legacy way of managing the devices, older applications, then the system management, what is along with that, should be able to assist you. And it can also help you with the latest modern unified endpoint management and security-based approach to ensure that your platform, it could be on-prem, it could be cloud. So we should be able to give a better visibility. So and understanding of what's happening in the network, so that you should be strategically plan how you want to defend and protect your endpoint for your business continuity. So with that, I would like to close my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm free to take them.